Wars have always been complex and devastating events, but in the 21st century, a new breed of conflict has emerged, one fought not on traditional battlefields, but through intermediaries and proxies. These are proxy wars, conflicts where powerful nations seeking to avoid direct confrontation instead support and arm different sides in existing conflicts, turning local struggles into global battlegrounds with far-reaching impacts. These wars are characterized by their indirect nature, with major powers providing funding, weapons, training and logistical support to non-state actors, such as rebel groups, militias or even terrorist organizations. Proxy wars are often fought under a veil of plausible deniability, allowing powerful nations to advance their geopolitical interests without the risks and consequences of direct military intervention. The lines between state and non-state actors become increasingly blurred in these conflicts, making it challenging to identify the true perpetrators and hold them accountable for their actions. This lack of accountability can fuel a cycle of violence and instability, prolonging conflicts and making it even more difficult to achieve lasting peace in war-torn regions. While proxy wars may appear to offer a lower-cost, lower-risk alternative to direct military engagement, they often result in protracted and devastating conflicts that have far-reaching consequences. Understanding the dynamics of proxy wars is crucial for navigating the complexities of modern geopolitics and addressing the root causes of conflict in the 21st century. The nature of warfare has undergone a profound transformation since the end of World War II. The global conflict that saw nations mobilize entire populations and economies for war has given way to a different kind of struggle. The sheer scale and devastation of World War II left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of humanity, prompting a re-evaluation of how wars are fought and the consequences they bring. The specter of nuclear annihilation and the rise of international institutions, like the United Nations, have made large-scale interstate conflicts increasingly rare. The threat of mutually assured destruction has acted as a powerful deterrent, forcing nations to seek alternative means of asserting their power and influence. Diplomatic efforts and international treaties have played crucial roles in maintaining a fragile peace, even as underlying tensions persist. However, this does not signify an end to warfare, but rather a shift in its form. Modern military strategies have evolved to adapt to new realities, focusing on precision, technology and intelligence. Military exercises and training programs now emphasize flexibility and rapid response, preparing soldiers for a variety of scenarios that differ greatly from the large-scale battles of the past. Instead of direct confrontations between states, we have witnessed a surge in intrastate conflicts, civil wars and insurgencies, many of which have been internationalized through the involvement of external powers. These conflicts often arise from deep-seated political, ethnic or religious divisions within countries, and external actors frequently see opportunities to influence outcomes in their favor. This shift towards proxy warfare can be attributed in part to the changing geopolitical landscape. As the world has become more interconnected, the actions of one state can have far-reaching implications, prompting other nations to intervene indirectly. The geopolitical map is constantly evolving, with alliances forming and dissolving and power dynamics shifting in unpredictable ways. The bipolar world of the Cold War, dominated by the rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, has given way to a more multipolar world, with multiple centers of power vying for influence. This multipolarity has created a more complex and fluid security environment where states are increasingly reluctant to engage in direct military confrontations that could escalate into wider conflicts. Instead, they opt for subtler, more indirect methods of exerting influence. This multipolarity has created a more complex and fluid security environment, where states are increasingly reluctant to engage in direct military confrontations that could escalate into wider conflicts. The use of advanced technology, such as drones and cyber warfare, has become more prevalent, allowing states to project power without putting boots on the ground. These methods offer a way to achieve strategic objectives while minimizing the risks and costs associated with traditional warfare. The rise of non-state actors, such as terrorist organizations, insurgents and militias, has further fueled the shift towards proxy warfare. These groups often operate in the shadows, exploiting the instability and chaos of civil conflicts to advance their own agendas. They are adept at using asymmetric tactics, making them formidable opponents even for well-equipped state militaries. These groups often exploit the instability and chaos of civil conflicts to advance their own agendas, seeking to undermine state authority, seize territory, or impose their ideology. Their actions can prolong conflicts, making resolution more difficult and costly. The involvement of non-state actors adds layers of complexity to modern warfare, challenging traditional notions of sovereignty and state control. By supporting these non-state actors, external powers can exert influence, undermine rivals, and pursue their interests without the political and military costs of direct intervention. This strategy allows states to maintain a degree of plausible deniability, avoiding the international backlash that often accompanies overt military actions. The provision of arms, training, and financial support to proxy forces has become a common tactic in the geopolitical playbook, reflecting the evolving nature of conflict in the modern era. The Cold War, a period of intense ideological and geopolitical rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, witnessed the rise of proxy warfare as a defining feature of international relations. This era, spanning from the end of World War II in 1945 to the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, was characterized by a constant state of tension and competition. Both superpowers were determined to spread their respective ideologies, capitalism and democracy for the United States and communism for the Soviet Union, across the globe. With the threat of nuclear annihilation looming large, both superpowers sought to avoid direct military confrontation, instead waging their ideological struggle through surrogates around the globe. The fear of mutually assured destruction, EMAD, kept the United States and the Soviet Union from engaging in direct conflict, leading them to support various factions, governments, and insurgent groups in different regions. This strategy allowed them to exert influence and attempt to shift the balance of power without risking a full-scale nuclear war. From the battlefields of Korea to the jungles of Vietnam, from the mountains of Afghanistan to the deserts of Angola, the Cold War was marked by a series of proxy conflicts, each a microcosm of the larger ideological struggle between communism and capitalism. These wars were not just military engagements, but also battles for the hearts and minds of people in these regions. Propaganda, economic aid, and political maneuvering were all part of the broader strategy to win influence and control. These conflicts often had devastating consequences for the countries and populations caught in the crossfire, leaving behind a legacy of violence, instability, and underdevelopment. The social and economic fabric of these nations was torn apart, leading to long-term repercussions that are still felt today. The human cost was immense, with millions of lives lost and countless others displaced, creating a cycle of poverty and suffering that hindered development for decades. The Korean War, which raged from 1950 to 1953, stands as a stark example of the devastating impact of Cold War proxy conflicts. This war was one of the first major conflicts of this Cold War era and set the stage for future proxy wars. It was a brutal and bloody conflict that saw massive casualties and widespread destruction. The war, sparked by the division of Korea into Communist North and Capitalist South, drew in the United States and its allies in support of the South and China, and the Soviet Union in support of the North. This international involvement turned a regional conflict into a global one, with far-reaching implications. The involvement of these superpowers escalated the conflict and made it a focal point of Cold War tensions. The conflict resulted in millions of casualties, both military and civilian, and left the Korean peninsula divided to this day. The demilitarized zone, DMZ, that separates North and South Korea, remains one of the most heavily fortified borders in the world. A stark reminder of the war's enduring legacy, the war also had significant political and social impacts, shaping the future of the Korean peninsula and influencing international relations for years to come. The Cold War crucible forged the proxy war paradigm, establishing a pattern of indirect confrontation that would continue to shape international relations long after the fall of the Berlin Wall. This paradigm has influenced numerous conflicts in the post-Cold War era, as nations continue to engage in proxy wars to advance their interests without direct confrontation. The legacy of the Cold War's proxy wars is a testament to the enduring impact of this period on global politics and conflict. The end of the Cold War, with its promise of a new world order marked by cooperation and peace, proved to be short-lived. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the subsequent dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 were seen as harbingers of a new era. However, the anticipated global harmony was quickly overshadowed by emerging conflicts and geopolitical strife. Instead of ushering in an era of stability, the post-Cold War world witnessed a proliferation of proxy conflicts, fueled by new rivalries, resurgent nationalism, and the collapse of state structures in many parts of the world. These conflicts were not merely local skirmishes, but often involved regional and global powers, each with their own agendas and interests. The disintegration of the Soviet Union and the collapse of communist regimes in Eastern Europe created power vacuums that were quickly filled by ethnic tensions, nationalist aspirations, and religious extremism. In many cases, these newly independent states struggled to establish stable governance, leading to internal strife and external interventions. These conflicts, often rooted in historical grievances and exacerbated by economic hardship, provided fertile ground for external powers to intervene, often under the guise of humanitarian intervention or peacekeeping. International organizations such as the United Nations frequently found themselves in the midst of these conflicts, attempting to mediate and provide relief. The wars in the former Yugoslavia, which erupted in the 1990s following the breakup of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, serve as a tragic example of the proliferation of proxy conflicts in the post-Cold War era. The violence and atrocities committed during these wars shocked the world and highlighted the fragility of peace in the post-Cold War landscape. The conflicts, fueled by ethnic tensions and nationalist ambitions, drew in external powers, including NATO and Russia, each seeking to advance their own interests and support their chosen proxies. This involvement often escalated the conflicts, making them more protracted and difficult to resolve. The proliferation of proxy conflicts in the post-Cold War world underscores the enduring allure of indirect warfare as a means of pursuing geopolitical goals while minimizing risks and costs. Nations found that by supporting proxy forces, they could exert influence and achieve strategic objectives without direct confrontation. These conflicts, often characterized by their complexity, brutality, and intractability, continue to pose significant challenges to international peace and security. The human cost is immense, with millions displaced, economies shattered, and societies left in ruins. The international community faces the ongoing challenge of addressing these conflicts and finding pathways to sustainable peace.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.